Hi guys. All right, strange times, I know. Let's just jump in. But first, I've got a disclaimer at the end of this video, so pay attention to that. All right, you are about to or are living three separate and distinct lives, and you got to stay in whatever lane you're in. Can't switch around. All right, so what I mean by that. First life is your test life. Answers A, B, C, or D. It's one of the four or five. It's not a conglomeration. You don't get to pick two of the best. You pick the best, worst case scenario, whatever. But of the four or five answers you get one answer. The way to mitigate that on your test life is being on your own, right? You're totally on your own unless you're cheating, which I don't recommend, is know why the other answers are wrong. If you know your material so well that you know why the other answers are wrong, my biggest thing is if you know all the other answers are wrong, you're going to ace this test, all right? Whatever written test it is. Now, I have high test anxiety, can't stand it. And so I've done a couple of things to mitigate it. I've listed it down. If you look at this at the end of my disclaimer, if you look for these hashtags on this study group site, then you'll see that I've got a whole bunch of tricks to reduce your test anxiety. A couple of them that I always do is I go for a run or a jog or a long walk, get myself physically tired. I'm studying, I'm listening while I'm doing that. I can play music because I've got the same playlist that's going through my head. And so when I'm taking the test, I can play that music in my head. There's all sorts of relaxation techniques and deep breathing exercises you can do. I personally wear my cargo pants, my uniform pants. I have my stethoscope in one side. I've got my trauma shears on the other side. That just kind of keeps me in that study mode, that keeps me in that test-taking mode that I want to stay in. Okay, I don't want to go into my real life. I don't want to start thinking about, oh, this is what I would do in my, I'm going to stay in that lane. All right. And one of the things I would suggest for you to do, if you can, is go to the actual test site, find out where the bathroom is, find out how long it takes you to get there, find out where you're going to park, and if there's going to be parking spots available, or you're going to have to walk a mile to get there. So anyway, there's some test taking mitigation skills that you can learn, and I've got more here and on a future scenario, a future clinic or video or whatever you want to call these. Anyway, second life. Second life is your scenario life. Now, sorry, but I'm going to digress into one of my stories. I had been a ER and ICU nurse for, I don't know, 15, 16 years at this time, and then I became an EMT. It's a long, weird story, but during my first EMT refresher, where I was doing a scenario, my guy was a simple leg bleed. Literally just had some kind of weird bleed. What I was supposed to do was to apply more pressure on it, add another 4x4, reinforce it. These were, protocols from 10, 15, 20 years ago. So that's what I was supposed to do, but I applied pressure and he kept bleeding, and in my head I switched to some kind of weird popliteal artery bleed, where I went into my real life where it was like, oh my goodness, and I started calling helicopters in and ATVs and all sorts of weird stuff, and I started ramping it up, and I went into a load and go situation, begging for diesel, and my instructor was like, what are you doing? Just add another 4x4 and press harder and longer, and stop his calf from bleeding or something. I don't know. Any case, stay in your scenario life. The way to mitigate that, I've developed a technique, is when I get on scene, I look at my watch, I tell what time it is, I put on my fake gloves or my real gloves or my rubber bands or whatever my instructor wants me to do as far as BSI, state my scene safety, and then I say I've got a 48-year-old male with a hurt leg, and my instructor says no, that's an 18-year-old female, and I say she is pink, warm, and dry. And my instructor says, no, she's pale, cool, and clammy. And so what I mean by that is I always stay on the same page. I always want to be on the same page. I always want to give my instructor the opportunity to say, there's no hurricane, there's no tsunami, calm down. We're just, this is, you know, I ask if there's blood everywhere or there's just a little bit of blood. I can't tell. So I want a clarification from my instructor or my proctor. All right, so that's my scenario life. Then real life. Now this is parts of most of us excel in, because I excel in real life. I don't do this a lot, and I don't do this a lot. So, but in real life, I excel in, but I've been also doing it for a long time. So the bad parts about real life is it's a real life situation. You can actually do patient harm, which is what you don't want to do, right? You want to help the patient out, and at worst, you don't want to hurt the patient any more than they really are. And I know that for some of you, especially if you're fresh out, that this is a very high anxiety, high stress time for you. But there is good ways to mitigate that. And my best thing is find a good support system, find a good mentor, find good YouTube videos that promote your practice, that help you. So you want to find someone that supports you, that has you primary. They don't have an ulterior motive. They don't have themselves as the primary goal. They're not trying to make themselves feel good. All right, so that's your three lives. You also have a thug life, which we're not going to discuss on this video. All right, we're going to keep that on the DL. All right, the rest of this video is going to be fluff, so you can stop paying attention. But you can find more if you look at the hashtags for tips, online resources, and EdSoc. This is the, we'll go that. But you'll find more if you look up these hashtags on the study group site. If I want you to know that no good deed goes unpunished. Everything you do is scrutinizable, especially in today's world. Follow your protocols, policies, and procedures. If you must, change the protocols, policies, and procedures through the proper channels, and then follow the new ones that you help change. Be open for change. In this kind of world, you got to evolve or you go extinct. So always be open for change. It is May 2020. Some of the stuff I might be saying, depending on how they change tests and how they change scenarios, might not be applicable tomorrow. There are some specialties. Some of you guys don't ever have to do any of this, so maybe some of you guys will have to discount this because you just don't do it. If there are any additional comments or if I've made any errors, I'm going to put that in the comments section of wherever you find this. There are possible future episodes. If you find out what you want, I might try to develop some time to make a video out of that. Upcoming is my Outside J3 website that I hope to get launched up coming up soon. And if I do, then that way I will have all these videos housed in one spot instead of the kind of hodgepodge all over the internet. And if you do feel like supporting me, this is my Venmo. I really need editing help more than anything else. I've got to do all these things on one take, and sometimes, like this video, my dog's licking my leg, and this is my 6th attempt on making it. So cheers. All right, take care. Strange times. See ya.